Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. It's Wednesday, and if you're seeing me, I want to say welcome. You're watching me on Om Times TV. I just started doing Om Times TV this month, the month of November. So if you have been listening to me for a while, you've been hearing me on the radio, Om Times Radio, and we are also streaming live on Om Times Radio. So just so you know, if you are coming and watching either on my YouTube, Postcards to the Universe, or Om Times TV YouTube, you may be seeing the countdown, right? And the reason that you're seeing the countdown, just for people who are asking, is because that is playing the top of the hour news for radio. And then I come on and now you get to see me. I'm super excited to be doing TV now. And I have like my shows have been, I love to have guests. And today I have Erin Copeland, and she is going to join me in just a couple of minutes. I am super excited about this change. I've been doing videos. I made a decision probably about 6 months ago that I wanted to start doing short videos so people could see my face. And I'm really promoting those videos on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube, everything is under Postcards to the Universe. But I would love it if you would go over to my YouTube if you're not watching me there right now and start watching some of my short videos. They're under 10 minutes. I've been doing Oracle card readings because I created my own Oracle deck from the manifesting postcards. And the manifesting postcards are the postcards that are in my book, Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And you can see the book cover above my head. That's what my book cover looks like. And there's 30 manifesting stories in that book that I photographed. Now I photograph them completely different. Now the book's 5 years old than I did in the book, but I just love doing it. And I've made Oracle cards. So I do a daily pull. It's like a daily affirmation. I try to keep those super short because I know people don't have a lot of time. I'm also learning how to read tarot cards. So I started doing mini readings, like 3-card readings. And I like to talk for about 5 to 7 minutes on anything that is inspirational, things that I've been thinking about, just information that I can put out there that helps us focus on the joy and the gratitude and the abundance that we have in our lives. No matter what is going on outside, no matter what we see outside, we are still in control of what we allow in our own little worlds. And we are responsible for the energy that we are putting out because we are a mirror to that. So whatever we put out comes back to us. So that's really what the videos are about. Sometimes I'll share some spells if I'm working on something, a little moon magic, just anything that pops into this Gemini brain of mine, because you would think that I would follow some kind of an outline or something, but no, it's just what do I want to talk about today? And that's what I talk about. So I would love to see you if you could go over there and please subscribe and comment and share. That would be wonderful. Trying to spread as much positivity in the world as possible. And like I said, I love having guests. If you listen to me for a long time, you know I don't just like talking to myself. So I want to talk to my guest today, and I want to welcome Holly Erin Copeland to my show. Now, Holly is a former ecologist turned guide to the wild within. Through her work in Inner Rewilding, she helps spiritual seekers, visionaries, and earth conscious leaders return to the wild intelligence of their being. Rooted in modern, non dual awareness and the wisdom of the body, Holly creates sacred containers for deep healing and remembrance, where frequency, ceremony, somatic attunement, and presence converge. Her work is a love song to those ready to awaken coherence between body, soul, and earth. And with a background in conservation biology and decades of spiritual practice, Holly blends science and mysticism into a truly integrative path. She is trained in human potential coaching, neuromeditation, subtle energy meditation, biofield tuning, breathwork, Reiki, and ceremonial plant medicine guidance. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so delighted to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. So you can also, and this will be in the description, you can find out about all about her. She's got her website's beautiful. You could go to hollycopeland.co. So it's Holly, HOLLYCOPELAND.co. And I say that for my radio folks and my podcasters who aren't seeing us live. So Holly, how, does this kind of work like start? How do you get into being an ecologist and talking about the wild connection back to nature? Is it something that you always longed for as a child and it brought you back around? Usually that seems to be what happens, right? We go on our life, we're going in a direction and we're miserable and we're like, I gotta find out what's going on inside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty much that. Yep. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I oriented my career towards the environment and being a conservationist because I was one of those people who just, I was a save the whales kind of a girl at age 12, and so, and I was picketing, old growth tree logging when I was, in college. And so I had this deep heart for conservation. And so for me, a dream job would be working for a conservation group and dedicating my life to the planet. And I, oriented my compass in that direction. And that's what happened. I ended up getting a job with the Nature Conservancy. And I had that job for over 20 years. And about 17 years into it, I started to question that choice. And it wasn't that the job wasn't a good job or I love the people I work with. It wasn't any of that. It was like I started to become disillusioned and burnt out. And it really was a sense of like, what's it all for? It feels like it's never going to be enough. Like nothing I ever do is going to be enough. And that kind of starry-eyed, optimism that you have in your 20s and early 30s just started to fade in my 40s. And I was really disillusioned and feeling sad. To be honest, I was just sad about the state of the planet. And I was carrying just the burden of all of that. And weight of all of that. And it had finally gotten to me, even though I had, a dream job by then. And I'd had, beautiful children and, a loving husband. And I had all those things, but I was feeling so sad and really looking to get out of my own sadness.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it must be seeing the destruction of the planet, right? The trees and the earth and our water and our soil and everything must be very overwhelming when you're doing that kind of work because you're one person, right? You're only one person. So like, what can you do? But not realizing that there is so much that one person can do because what we do is a ripple effect to everybody around us. So did you take a step back? Did you leave that job and decided that you were going to create something that was yours?
Well,
still with
I did ultimately leave that job, but the important part of the story from there is that my brain was kind of felt like a mess. It felt really,
Mhm. Yeah.
crowded, and like I couldn't get out of my head. And so I decided to start a meditation path. I really just, decided to go inward.
Mhm.
And that was, just feeling like I needed to get out of it. Just is what felt like it made sense. Like there was just a lot of chaos in my mind and my brain. And I knew
Yeah.
from being on the spiritual journey that, meditation was a good thing. And I had tried meditation for many years, for actually like many times since I was even 14 years old. I'd tried
Wow.
meditation, but I just felt like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was hard, and what's it for? And is it really working? Um, and I went to a meditation retreat for a whole weekend,
Mhm.
and I was blown away by how hard that was. But I also felt a profound sense of peace at the end of that weekend.
Mhm.
And I ended up going home and starting to meditate. And I started working with a piece of neurotechnology called the Muse, so a headband that gives you biofeedback when you meditate.
Mhm.
I started practicing with that. And then I met a meditation teacher and went into a course that ultimately was really what changed my life, this Raising Our Vibration course. And we were in a group for 10 weeks, and I started meditating deeply and, like an hour,
Mhm.
a week with
Mhm.
these people. And it 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 started working, number 1, and it like with the support of them and the guidance, I really started to feel profoundly different
Yeah.
inside me. And that really, once you start to feel a shift, that really catalyzes a lot. Um,
Yeah.
right? Ultimately, I ended up also starting to work with plant medicine. And I worked with
Mm.
ayahuasca, and I worked with psilocybin, and the the two really led to this. It was a many years journey, but to kind of
Mhm.
condense it, um, the realization that to free myself, like the reason I call it, no, I have a book coming out in January called Inner Rewilding, and that path of, in
Mm.
order to save the planet out there, it's really an inner path journey, of course,
Yeah.
of freeing ourselves. And what the plants taught me and what the meditation path taught me so profoundly shifted my life and my view, of, the things you were saying in the introduction about, it's like we have to go within, and how, everything's a mirror. So how we see the world within is
Mhm.
what we experience on the outside. And so I had my own version of the experience and the recognition of that. And all of that ended up totally shifting the trajectory of my life, where all I wanted to do was actually help people. I realized it was the
Mhm.
people who needed helping if we want to help the planet. The planet will be fine.
Right.
Not to minimize the beautiful work that anybody in the
Right.
environmental realm are doing, but for me, the recognition that I really wanted to help people feel
Yeah.
and see and know the joy within, and know that joy is right here, even while, it feels like Rome is burning. It's actually
Yeah.
incumbent on us to find and reclaim the joy that is our birthright. And that's my work now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I started a meditation practice this past year, and it's profoundly changed me. I mean, I can't, and I always had the hardest time trying to meditate, and it was because I was trying to do it the way I thought it should be done, instead of allowing myself to do the way it worked for me. And mine is more of like this inner journeying. I kind of go on this journey, and
Mhm.
it's very much connected to the trees and Mother Nature and these places that I go in my mind, and maybe a little astral travel,
Mhm.
right, right,
Mhm.
and it's just, and like, there's such a connection there, and it is completely like shifted my view of the world in so many ways. And I find it really interesting that I'm meeting more and more people that are doing not exactly the work that you're doing, but similar work that you're doing, that are reconnecting back to plant medicine, that are rediscovering this connection to the earth and how that is healing them. And then they are, from that, helping other people go back to Mother Nature. And it's also, interestingly enough, in the astrology, because I don't know that much about astrology, but I follow a lot of astrologers, and I'm hearing them talking about the same thing. So it's in our astrology also. So I find that like really interesting that we are going on this projection. And I want to talk about what your inner rewilding is. Like, what is inner rewilding?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for asking that. And I too, just acknowledge, I feel that too, where I look around and there's so many people who are, I think this great awakening that's happening in this time, it's really a great reconnection.
Right.
We're discovering that I think the greatest disease of our time is, we could put it one word, which is disconnection. We have become, the reason that we do what we do, that we see the world we see, is because we fundamentally have unplugged from source.
Yes.
We forgot how to connect to source. We forgot how to,
Yes.
and so we're plugging back in, we're reconnecting. And that reconnection is bringing us back alive into a relationship with earth and with ourselves that we had lost. And so fundamentally, it's a reconnection journey, which is why plants are so beautiful, because they're in the frequency of connection. So they have that built in, and they're here to, in all the beautiful ways that they do, psilocybin and ayahuasca. And I also work with sassafras. They bring us right back into this deepest knowing of who we are and our divine selves, and our inherent connection to plants and the earth and all the spirits. So it's super beautiful. But to answer your question about inner rewilding, so the inner rewilding, after all these big shifts occurred, and I really wanted to share that with the world, and I decided to write a book, and so inner rewilding came through because I was in this process of, how do I articulate what had happened to me in a way that other people could follow and understand? And through a series of deep, I almost want to call them like just almost channelings, like where I just went into this space, this inner rewilding came to me, and it came through these 4 pillars. So the essence, the book is a memoir and a guidebook. It's both.
Okay.
They tell their story in part 1, and then it's a guidebook in part 2. And there's really 4. I love simple. I love communicating simple. I always have. I love breaking things down. And so for me, these 4 pillars were, and to me, the essence of the most important spiritual teachings that shifted my life. And I put them on they came through as a mandala. So of directions, like a compass. Okay. So in the East, we have awaken to peace. And this is the essence of the non-dual path. This is understanding that our true nature is peace and happiness. That's what we are. It's fundamental to who we are. When we boil it down to the essence of the essence of the essence of our being, peace is our true nature. And that's what the Tibetans have been saying for millennia. That's what they know. And that is a comfort, because it's peace and happiness isn't something we have to try to get. It's what we are. And so if we can point people back to, this is your true nature, it's what you are, then we can let go of the striving. And I'm a consummate striver. I like a straight A student. Was that kind of person.
Me too, consummate striver. I've got to keep trying.
Right. Following directions. And I was very good at that. And so I was used to trying for everything I did. And I thought that I had to find happiness. I had to create happiness. And this is actually, your true nature is happiness and peace. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is attune to the living universe. So we have awaken and then attune. And that's really, if we think of the piece of our true nature as like the consciousness, the Shiva, the all, then then attuned to the living universe is pointing to the Shakti, the alive, animate universe that is the energetic universe that is here, that is everything. Everything is energy,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of healing that we can do through that energetic understanding. So I work with energy. I work with tuning forks and support
Mm-hmm.
people through a lot. Sound and frequency is a core part
Yeah.
of what I do,
I
but
love
also.
frequency. I listen to frequency music all the time. I have it in the background playing every day, just
Yeah.
low. I listen to it at night. I listen to it when I meditate. I love the frequency sounds. I feel like
It's
it just gets
magic,
me.
right?
It just gets me right there. And even if you can search things, and I'm sure you offer, but like let's say you feel like you have a stomach ache, you can do frequency for stomach pain and just put it on in the background and let it play, and it's working without you even realizing it's working.
So true. So I work with frequency in all kinds of ways with different devices and
Yeah,
light frequency and sound
love it.
frequency. And I also had a health journey. So I had a mold poisoning. So
Mm,
in the midst of the breakdown and the despair and all of that, I also had mold poisoning, and
ooh,
sound and frequency were elemental to my healing.
yeah.
And to discover, just like you're saying, that there's a frequency for everything. I didn't
Mhm.
know that. And Albert Einstein was the one who said, "Future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies."
Yeah. I
You
know,
know,
it's wild, right?
it's
I know a
wild.
woman who, from your voice, and I would love to have her on the show, but I don't think I could rein her in, because when I have a conversation with her, she's like all over. She's like science. She's like it's all over the place. But just from a sample of your voice, she can tell you what's going on, where what minerals are lacking in your body,
Mm,
and from your voice, like if you
amazing.
have mold in your system, like that would come up in your voice when you were going through the mold poisoning. That made me think of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. So, yeah, there are people who do voice analysis. There's all
Mhm.
kinds of different ways that we can look at the energetic body from a frequency point of view. I work with this amazing woman, Carolyn McMacken, who works with two-channel frequency devices, wrote this book called The Resonance Effect. And she
Mm.
heals literally with just, microcurrent frequency.
Yeah.
Um, and like I work with another little device like this. It's the Healy. It's all microcurrent frequency, which I have running right now. That's incredibly supportive at healing and supporting
Mhm.
healing. So that whole sort of frequency based healing is
Mhm.
contained in this attuned to the living universe. Um, and then allow is the third pillar. So
Mhm.
awaken, attune, and allow. And this is really the great part of the surrender path of
Yeah.
spiritual teachings, where, when we drop the egoic mind and allow life to flow through us, this is where the magic really happens. It's
Right.
where, right? I mean, as your postcards to the universe, I'm sure, this is where the seeds of
Mhm.
intuition come when we let
Mhm.
go of the thinking mind and really bring online and surrender to it and allow the creative
Yeah.
elements and force of life to really flow through us, which we're not accessing if we are trying to
Mm-mm.
control life.
No.
No,
That's
right?
part of one of our biggest problems is we always, we never just allow it to happen in the divine timing that it needs to happen. We try to force it. And I always tell people when oh, I did this and, I'm doing all the work but all you're focusing in is on the when and the how it's going to show up and what it needs to look like. And you're not in that allowing space. You're in that trying to control. Yeah.
Right, right.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
we got to pick our
Yeah.
hands up off the steering
Right.
wheel.
Right.
We have to let go of the
Yeah.
steering wheel and actually move from a place of control to a place
Mhm.
of partnership with the universe. I'm sure
It's
I'm
very hard.
speaking
Yes.
your
Yes,
speak.
you are. Well, that's what
Right,
I always say. We're co-creating with the universe. We're
right,
co-creating, right? I mean,
right,
people have a hard time understanding that the universe, God, doesn't matter what you call it, doesn't matter, wants us to be happy, wants us to be love, and wants us to be joy. And people think I'm crazy when I say that, especially if they've gone through some terrible things. And, well, how can, God allow that to happen? And the answer is so much bigger and deeper than that. It's not like that. And it's hard to explain when you're,
Right.
For people to really grasp what we're talking about. Right.
Right. I'll tell a story that, like just to go back to the mold a little bit, when I was in the middle of this mold hell, and it really felt like hell,
I can imagine,
and ultimately I couldn't find it for months. I was sick in my own house. I knew I had mold. It took me months to even figure out what I had was mold. But when I did, I was searching for it. I'd, leave my house and I'd get better. Then I'd come home and I'd feel worse. I knew it was there. And we did ultimately find it in my bed, and that's a whole nother story. But
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, if you have a foam mattress and you have one of those air mattresses, take a look, because I had years of condensation on that foam with a vinyl lining on top of that air mattress, created the breeding grounds for mold. And that's ultimately where I found it. And it was sewn into the mattress. I couldn't see it. So,
wow.
so I always like to kind of say, if you've got strange symptoms and you have a bed like that, you might check your bed.
Okay.
Because
good to know if anybody listening. Yeah.
Anybody listening. So anyway, but it was hell, and what's interesting though, is that, year later, after I had come through all of that, because of the well-being that I felt coming out of that, and because of all the shifts I made, I saw that the mold was an essential part of my whole journey. That the mold and all of this enabled me to leave my job and to chart this new path where, I couldn't imagine doing anything else than what I'm doing now. I see that it's exactly what I'm meant to be doing.
Right.
And so in a very,
usually what happens.
right. So in a very strange way, I'm thankful to the mold.
Yeah.
I realized it had to be a part of my journey. Could I see that then? No, of course not. It felt like a living hell.
No, yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's like the birthing process of something new is bloody and painful, but it is the catalyst. It is the catalyst. So because I want to talk so much more, but before we do, I want to take our break here. Let's take our break and then we'll come back. And I have so much more to talk with you, Holly. All right, stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Well, I think we will. Chris, maybe we're not going to commercial?
Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting.
Do you have a dream that feels just out of reach? What if you could send a message to the universe and watch it come true? Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio, creator of the Postcards to the Universe project. For years, people from all over the world have sent me their dreams on a simple postcard, and I've seen incredible things happen. Postcards to the Universe, harness the universe's power and manifest your dreams, gives you the tools to create a life you love. Learn how to turn your biggest desires into a clear, powerful message the universe can hear. It's time to stop waiting and start creating. Discover your power to bring your dreams to life. This isn't just a book, it's an experience. Discover your purpose, unlock your potential, and manifest your wildest dreams. Find Postcards to the Universe by me, Melissa Caprio, wherever books are sold. Get your copy today. Start writing your story, one postcard at a time.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hi, and welcome back. So the hot lady, Chris, messaged me. He goes, I pushed the button, but Mercury retrograde. So we're in Mercury retrograde right now, and that's when all this fun technical stuff happens. So we talked about the 3 pillars. You said there was 4 pillars in your book, so I'll let you go.
Sure.
Continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last after allow is align with your wild heart. Right. And this is really, I'm sure you and your listeners are very used to this. This is really where you come into, what is your resonance? What is your genius? What is your gift? What makes you feel, what are you here to bring into the world? And to come into resonance with that and align with that, because that's where we manifest our dreams. And that's where we become the real co-creator. We let go and then we allow. And so, or then we align. We just, align deeply.
Yeah.
And then what I find is the universe rises to meet us in whatever it is we're here to manifest.
Is that what you mean when you say coming home? What do you mean when you say coming home to ourselves? What does that mean?
Yeah, what that means for me is that, like, all of these pillars, when we do that, when we awaken, attune, allow, and align, we come back into our authentic version of who we really are. We're rewilded. We're letting go of the baggage and the stories and the judgments and the criticisms and all of the things that prevent us from being in that full alignment with our life's purpose. And also to feel really a sense of belonging, like we belong here as humans. This is something else that I know as a conservationist, I really felt like kind of a parasite on the earth as a human being.
Yeah.
I felt like
I understand what you mean by that. Yeah.
like kind of shitty, to be honest, about being a human being with everything that, humans are doing to the planet. And I can I believe and have experienced that there's a spiritual message out there that's kind of about like transcendence, like we need to transcend this human form into some like angelic version. And I think that I don't really subscribe to that, to be honest. For me, I think we're waking down. I like to call it not waking up, but waking down. We're coming into our humanness and into feeling like radical belonging here on earth, that not like I need to feel bad and sorry for being a human being, but I actually reclaim my humanity, and that I'm here to, I'm a being of good. I'm here to do good. We all are. And we're here to live in joy and co-creation with source. And so it's a real stepping into, that's what I mean by coming home. Like, to me, homecoming, when we're home, we're safe. We feel included. We feel welcome. We feel like, here, come join the tribe. And, it's what indigenous cultures have been practicing for millennia, that really sense of belonging and rejoining the kind of, rejoining our brothers and sisters across the planet in a shared humanity. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Let me ask you your opinion. So what do you think happened? Like, if you look at ancient civilizations who are so much more connected to the earth and so much more respectful of the earth and other tribes maybe, and other, and the medicines that we got from the earth. And then, and women as medicine women, and our knowledge and our wisdom. And then there was something that came in, right, that changed this story that we've been living now for a long time. And I believe we're now the pendulum is swinging the other way. But what do you think that was? Do you think there was that few that saw it was so ego and power based, that just saw that there was an opportunity to take advantage, and they did?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And it's one I've reflected on a lot. So I appreciate you asking it, 'cause it's such a deep question of like this kind of, how did we get here? Right? Like what happened?
Right.
And I think we have to go back, way back. We could go back to, you know, around the time, of Christ. We could go back to the Council of Nicaea, back to, this place where, the patriarchy kind of started and started to not honor the mother. Because ultimately there's a masculine feminine balance that is
Yeah.
law of the universe.
Right.
And when we talk about disconnection, what are we really talking about? I think we're actually talking about disconnection from mother.
Yeah.
Right? And not honoring the mother. Mother Earth is our
Mother
first,
Earth.
right? Mother.
Right.
And and I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say that I feel very deeply that this is a shared between, I'm not a male basher at all. I really believe that we, both sexes, ultimately played a role in this. That somehow as mothers, we did not honor our sons, or didn't nurture that relationship. And so there was this rift between, I'm not exactly sure I can tell you exactly how it happened, but this feminine masculine balance became, out of whack. And there was, right. And there was a shift to the masculine, and a disrespecting of the feminine, of the honoring of the mother, is actually the way I would put it. And we are fundamentally, I think, walking back to a place where the two are in balance. I think that's what this Great Awakening, it's not a feminine movement. It's a rebalancing where masculine and feminine are both, in yin and yang. They're both in balance, and we're resurrecting the mother figure and the mother honoring in all aspects of society, which is actually internally, if we now look internally, it's coming back to receiving, right? If we think about what's happening internally, there's a way we're manifesting, but then at the same time we have to receive, and it's learning how to receive as much as we give. So it's making that our giving and receiving, Aini is what it's called in one of the shamanic studies in Peru. It's knowing that giving and receiving are always in balance as a law in the universe, and learning to feel that for ourselves. How can we? So this is a question for everyone, is to look at, where am I not actually allowing myself to receive the gifts, receive the love from people around me, receive my own love. Because when we feel and are in touch with that, then we're resourced. We're reconnected with source, and we're plugged back into the thing that is always giving, right? Mother Earth is constantly giving. Constantly. As one of my mentors likes to say, the ocean refuses no rivers. Like, she is just constantly accepting everything. And yet we have forgotten how to receive. We have forgotten how to lean back and really take in the gifts of the universe. We say no in life. Way too, So
that's interesting. We do. If you think about it like that.
Right. Yeah. What does that bring up for you? I'm curious.
Well, you said something early in the show when you said that we have disconnected, right, from nature and Mother Earth and the earth. And I thought, isn't it interesting how we have created so much technology so that we can connect to anybody, anywhere in the whole world. And we feel more disconnected than we've ever felt before. And what is that saying, right? What is that saying? And is it like we needed these devices to be created and the internet to be created to accelerate the disconnect, to make us to force the pendulum to swing back to connection to the earth? Does that make sense?
Yes,
Do you kind of know what I mean? Yeah.
I do. I think that's
Mhm.
a very astute observation that we have. This is like AI is like taking it to the extreme,
Mhm.
and these devices, right? And they're causing us to really look deeply at what is real and what is real connection actually about.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's not has
Mhm.
nothing to do with computers or AI or anything. If AI and computers can help people connect like you and me right now, or
Yeah.
those people listening, then that's real. But where it's in service of
Mhm.
humans connecting, then I'm grateful. And I am grateful for all of the ways that digital things connect me to the
Me
world.
too.
All the
Me too. Me
people.
too. Right.
Right.
But the where people go is there, so people go to, that's all they're connected to. And then
Right.
they lose connection to other people, or,
Right.
being outside in nature, connecting with the plants and connecting with the trees.
Right.
And I love, when I read those stories about people who have done the experiments with the plants, when you talk lovingly to one plant and how it thrives, and then the other plant is you're talked to in terrible ways, which kind of breaks my heart that the poor plant has to like be a part of the experiment. And it's just withering away, and it just shows you how much everything is frequency, and how water, the molecular of water, changes when it's being given loving energy than to when it's giving chaos and toxicity. And how that, if you think about that, like what that really means, it's mind blowing.
Yet it is, and I'm glad you said the word mind-blowing, because I think our mind can't it's actually what you're saying is our mind can't grasp. Our mind has no frame of reference to understand that, that this universe is actually alive, it's holographic, it's speaking to
Mm-hmm.
us in every moment. And I'm really oriented towards both an animist perspective now and one of understanding that everything is consciousness, that we're
Yeah.
not, and I love my mentor, Rupert Spira, used this analogy, and I think it's very apt. So I'll share it with you now. Like, first we thought the world was flat, and then we
Mm-hmm.
discovered that it was not, it was round. And
Mm-hmm.
then we thought the earth went around the sun, or the sun ran around the earth instead of the other way around. We discovered, no, the earth goes around the sun. The next leap, the next paradigm shift is to understand that we are not brains with consciousness that disappear when we die, but actually everything is consciousness. There's no
Mm-hmm.
separation between you or me or anybody that's listening. And when we understand that fundamentally, which
Yeah.
our mind can't grasp, but our heart
Mhm.
knows that
Mhm.
everything is connected. And most of my work, one big aspect of my work is to do meditative guidance that guides people into their own understanding of our shared being, that we have a
Mm.
shared consciousness, all of
Right.
us.
Right.
And that recognition that consciousness isn't something we have, it's what we are. And that,
Right.
like you're saying, that means that water and plants and everything there's no
Mhm.
place where consciousness ends and I begin, um, is the next great awakening. And
Yeah.
that from that understanding, that recognition that we're connected is the
Yeah.
reconnection back with the all that is. and the dissolution of this feeling and this sense of a separate me who is fundamentally, needs to operate in a separate sense of self around the world. And that when you when you recognize that we have a shared being,
Yeah.
then that, and this has come to me so many times in plant medicine journeys, like, I am you and you are me. And if I really take that to the deepest level, then
Mm-hmm.
I just want to exude kindness on every
Right.
fellow human being because I'm talking to myself. Why
Right.
would I dump all over myself? And so it fundamentally changes your interaction with the world when you come into a relationship of understanding that, just like you said at the very beginning, what you put out, you get back.
Mm-hmm.
Because the universe is a mirror. Because why? Because we have one shared being.
Right. And that's why learning to love yourself is so important, and we're not talking about it. And I'll let you describe what you mean by how we can fall back in love with ourselves. And it's not in the Hollywood way that we're shown. It's not walking the red carpet, getting your hair done, wearing $1 million jewels. It is a whole different kind. That is all egocentric. We're talking about really falling in love with yourself, because if we are all one, think about if everybody learned how to fall in love with themselves, what that would look like. So I'll let you talk about how you help people fall back in love with themselves.
Yeah, thank you. I help people fall back in love with themselves by first recognizing this subject-object duality. So feeling and sensing, taking people from this sense of a egoic self behind the
Mm-hmm.
eyes. And so anybody that's listening right now, just notice where you're aware from, where you're listening from. And for most people, yeah, there's a sense of a little mini me in here doing my life. And what I like to do is ask you to take that elevator down from that space and let it float down so that you become aware from your heart space. So
Yeah.
you actually feel and know your center of being, not from here up behind the eyes, but located, down. For those listening, I've got my hands over my heart. And so just feel and sense, what does your heart feel like when you bring your center of awareness down? And then from there, just starting to cultivate an ability to shift your view and your sense of being to feeling and knowing yourself from within directly without, and what I mean here is you don't need to think about your heart to know your heart. We're
Right.
taught in Western minds aren't taught this. Everything we're taught is a kind of critical thinking kind of way
Yeah.
of seeing the world from labeling. I'm not
Right.
talking about that. I'm talking about shifting to feeling and knowing your center of being from inside without thought, right? Just like I can ask you to be aware of your heart. You don't need to think about it to be aware of your
No.
heart.
Right.
Right. And so what you start to, and the reason I'm pointing you to this, like, Holly, what does this have to do with self-love? Well, because we tend to have a mental idea of what love even is. We tend to think that we need to think about something in order to love it, right?
Right.
But if I tell you, do you love your daughter or your son
Right.
or your mother, father, right? You don't need to like create a thought to know that you love them, correct?
Right. Correct.
Correct. Right? I have 2 daughters, right? If you say, Holly, do you love your daughters? It's immediate
Yeah.
and it's not a thought. I don't have to like, do I love
Do
my
I?
daughter?
Right. No.
Like,
Yeah.
no.
You
Like,
feel it right away, right in your heart. Yeah.
exactly. It's like that. What I'm pointing to is like that. There's an immediate knowing, and it's not from a thought, it's from my heart, right? Okay. So take that idea and now we translate that into ourself. What we
Yeah.
tend to do with ourself is we tend to pile on a lot of thoughts like,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm too fat, I'm too
Yeah.
ugly, I'm not good enough. For me, it
Yeah.
was I'm not good enough. That was my
Yeah.
right? We have all these
Yeah.
judgments, right?
Uh-huh.
And so when we start to see that those are all thoughts, They're not actually the essence of who we are. And we can break that apart. We can actually cultivate the same sense of love and knowing of ourself as we would for our child or
Right.
our, whatever name whatever family member or pet is dearest and closest to you.
Yeah.
Right. So you should have that same sense of like, oh yeah, that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that closeness and that intimacy with ourself that doesn't need to think about it in order to be. And so it's cultivating and understanding that and starting to recognize that that's actually at the center of that's what self-love really is. It's
Mhm.
removing this distance that we have for our knowing of who we are that's created from a series of stories and thoughts that we've been piled on that or whatever our mother told us, our father told us, things that happened to us that
Society tells us, right, everything.
Right.
It's interesting because I say something similar because I talk a lot about doing mirror work about self-love. And I said, talk to yourself the way you would talk to your child, a baby. Like, I don't have children. I have a niece and a nephew, and I use them a lot, especially my niece, my nephew. He's on the spectrum, but especially my niece, as I'm watching her develop and I'm seeing she's a teenager and how now she's being self-critical where she never was when she was little. But like would I ever say the things to her that I will have said to myself in the past? Not in a million years.
Right.
Right? Like your
Right.
cat, that you may just love your cat so much. Would you ever be cruel to your pet, your cat? Never. But what do
Right.
we do to ourselves?
Right.
It's terrible. So, and when you put it in that perspective, you can kind of go, oh, you know what? I get that. I see now what I'm doing here, right?
Right. Right.
Talk to
Exactly.
yourself the way you talk to your beloved, whoever your beloved is.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. And start to really, cultivate that
Yeah.
intimacy. And the word I want to use intimacy. Cultivate
Yeah.
that kind of sweetness and compassion and intimacy for yourself. And that can be very vulnerable and hard to do because we're not used to doing that, where there's a lot of self-loathing and
Yeah.
shaming and guilting. And what
Yeah.
those are is they're messages we acquired from other people.
Yeah.
They're not inherent to who we are. Um,
Mm-mm.
yeah, and so and it's a process. I mean, I had all of those things. I had
Of
lots of
course, it's a
body
daily
shaming.
process.
Right,
We
right,
have to unlearn a lot of things. We
it
have
is a
to
lot of
unlearn it
right.
is a lot of
It
peeling the
is,
onion.
yeah,
So
and then what
Holly,
I
I want to ask you, because I want to give you enough time to talk about when you work with somebody, what does it look like when
yeah,
somebody says, I need this in my life. I'm feeling so disconnected. What does it look like for somebody
yeah.
to work with you?
Yeah, so we work together for 3 to 4 months in a, container of about 10
Mhm.
sessions is usually where I start, and we do a series of kind of I'm just really feeling deeply into where they're at, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
intuitive I tune in deeply intuitively through questioning to feel kind of where their challenge is, where their stories are, and then it's a very personal thing. No one session looks the
Sure.
same, but pointing them back to their true nature, and creating basically a meditation plan for them, a daily practice plan for them that enables and supports them to reinforce who they truly are and let go of all the stories. And then I integrate a lot of tuning fork work
Mhm.
to also free up. I mean, basically, energetic
Yeah.
blockages come in the form of dissonance, and
Yeah.
so I work with that. And I do breath work, and then sometimes plant medicine journeys with them also, if that's something that they want. So it's a combination. I work with people all over the world. So
Mhm.
yeah, I absolutely love my one-on-one clients and really supporting people at a very intimate, personal level.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it must be very, very satisfying.
It
And
is.
people who are dealing with deep trauma, I imagine this kind of work is very healing,
It is.
because I am a believer that trauma stores in our body very
Yeah.
deeply. And we don't even know where that it stores, and we might not be aware of it for decades before it starts to come back up. So yeah, I can imagine this is really healing for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. And yes, I agree with you. I do a lot of somatic work, somatic releasing. So feeling where those traumas are stored, using the tuning forks, using other shamanic tools and sound healing tools to really free, find those sticky patterns that have been locked in place and, bring them to light and release them. It's really magical kind of work together.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Do you do any group kind of work too? I know that sounds very personal, but do you do group work together or hold any kind of groups?
Yeah, I'm on Insight Timer, and so I do a weekly live show, and I have a group that shows up there every week. And I also do group medicine ceremonies, so people will hire me to come, and they can bring a group of friends and lead a weekend retreat together.
Oh, nice.
And those are super powerful. If anybody's interested in that, you can reach out to me. It's that's really right now. That's actually my favorite work to do. I travel around the country, and I could even travel around the country, basically hosting groups in small retreats, private retreats.
Wow. And so people will do the plant medicine, and then they have you there to help guide them. Because I imagine that some things really must probably come up, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's deep work, and it's very beautiful work. I was just at one this past weekend, and the healing that went on and the shifts it's my most satisfying work right now. So that's what I'm really leaning into.
Well, that's how we change the world, right?
Yeah. And then falling back in love with ourselves, and then really falling back in love with the world. And that's my message. We're here to fall in love with the world, not a world 20 years from now or 10 years from now, but right now.
Well, that's beautiful, Holly. And you can find her at hollycopeland.co, and the link will be in the description so people can connect with you. Thank you so, so much for being with me. This was just beautiful. I really enjoyed talking to you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.